Welcome to Pucknology After Dark. It's not really after dark, but we got one hell of a game tonight. Sharks take down the Wild in an epic 4-3 fashion with Mr. Clutch himself coming in with 1 minute left. Joe Pavelski scores the game winner. Welcome again to Pucknology After Dark. If you want to be part of the show, use the hashtag with Pucknology After Dark. I am joined by Mr. at AJ Strong. I'm joined by Mr. Puck Guy himself live on the scene. And we've got special guest, Generation X-Wing. You might know him from his Photoshop prowess. Anyhow, gentlemen, what a game that was. What did you guys think?
I thought it ended at a 4-3 score.
Dude, this is going to be epically awesome because now it's going to be like, after listening to Gen X on the show, AJ is not as sarcastic as I thought. No, it was a good, pretty good game. I still continue to be more and more impressed with the bottom six and their production. I don't know if they're getting better. The top six is getting worse, but I love the way that they're bringing it in and being involved in this scoring because that's something that we've all been seeing complaints about for a long time. So it's just nice to see.
Yeah, and with the Canuck loss, the Sharks take sole possession of second place. Thank you, Pittsburgh, for taking them down in regulation. If they had another overtime loss. Yes, Mr. Puck Guy, live on scene. Eric, what is it like down at the tank?
Good. Yes.
I have people following me trying to get me to buy season tickets.
Ladies and gentlemen, now come live for the SAP.
Delight. I must say, it must have been a great game. Bottom six really turning it up. Gentry, good afternoon to you, sir. Your thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, Eric, the bottom six is really turning it up. I think with Couture being back, it's really we're starting to see the actual depth of our lineup, and you can actually start sliding people into more of their roles and, getting depth, having three centers. God, I think that this was a good statement game. I mean, going 6-0-1 so far on the streak, you moved into sole possession of second place?
I believe so. At least it strengthens it with Vancouver's loss. They pick up some ground at the very least. Definitely a crowd pleaser. Yeah, 16,936 is what I thought it was. So a pretty decent crowd, not a sellout, but a pretty solid crowd for a Military Appreciation Day. They continue part due tomorrow. But the crowd was really into it. Of course, scoring the game-winning goal with a minute and a half left definitely helps get the spirits going.
Pavelski's now leading the NHL in game-winning goals this season, I believe, with 8. So that's kudos to Captain Clutch. So,
Captain for America. Fuck yeah. Back to you, Andy.
Well, it looks like there's something going on with the stream because it's like dead. So I'm not sure what's going on here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and it still says we're live. Okay, here we go. Now we're back up.
I think we're still good. And let's mention, since I'm on the phone, I cannot crash the feed. So
not for lack of trying.
Yeah.
Not for lack of trying. Of course.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's AT&T being, AT&T. So, I mean, I guess overall, what was your guys' sense of the game? Do you guys think that they had a good handle on the Wild? Do you think that there was more ebbs and flows? Do you guys, what was your overall take on how the Sharks played tonight?
Go ahead, Jen.
I'm going to say I think it was just another inconsistent 60 minutes. They let them back in. They tried to steal it back out. They let them back in. This is a team on the end of a relatively long road trip, and you either got to put your foot on their necks and end it, or shit or get off the pot. That's what I'm going to say.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Gen X. They kept Minnesota in the game. They kind of fell back like they tend to have when they have a lead in the third period. They gave up that tying goal, but you saw them kind of get that oomph going late in the third, which led to that great face-off win by Thornton right to Pavelski for the game winner. I mean, that's something that we haven't seen from Team Teal in quite some time.
Yeah, we're finally starting to see them actually steal victory from the jaws of defeat instead of vice versa, which seemed to be a commonplace thing to happen on home ice. But of course, we do need to talk about the elephant in the room. Mike Brown, a whopping 3 minutes of ice time tonight after getting 6 the other day.
Well, how am I supposed to make my Uncle Brown's 5-minute ice Photoshop now?
What can Brown do for you? He can do about 3 minutes.
That's just horrible.
So let me get this straight. We keep Mike Brown and give him a roster spot, yet we put Ben Smith on waivers.
I asked
So
that the other
3
day.
minutes of ice time.
How?
Way to go. Way to shark it up. If that's the case, we should have traded back for John Scott. At least he could have given us 7 minutes, and he's a goddamn all-star.
DeBoer said that Smith was too far behind everyone else because of his injury. How flippin' far behind is Ben Smith to not be able to get ice time from Mike Brown?
Exactly. That makes no sense whatsoever. I know he missed camp early on, and then he took the puck to the head. Nice job, Vlasic, with your shooting accuracy. But I mean, that's ridiculous. You can't tell me that he's that far behind, and yet you pick up Zubris, who was just sitting around doing nothing and doing all that stuff.
I'm fine with Zubris because Zubris at least has somewhat proven track record of producing when he's given some ice time, even at his age. But to park a guy on the end of the bench, let him go out there and skate around while the ice girls aren't doing anything for a couple of minutes, come on. You can't tell me Ben Smith's that far behind.
Yeah. No way.
And especially given the fact that they're letting Raffy rehab when he's been, has had more time off. So, this thing about not giving, Smith the time on ice and not giving him the chance to recoup, not even giving him an AHL conditioning stint. I mean, that's kind of screwed up. I mean, it's like the guy didn't even get the chance to rehab.
God, you never know the Sharks won today, did you?
But see here, and we're going to be coming up to a decision too, because Raffy's only there for conditioning, correct? And he only has 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, he only has 2 weeks. Hey, Eric, can you disconnect and reconnect, please? Because you're not showing up in the feed.
Okay, bye.
Right. Let's see if we can't get. Let's see if we can't get that AT&T connection re-upped. But I'm not holding my breath. Anyhow, tonight's game, Sharks win it 4-3. And Mr. Buckeye is back, and we still have Lag City. So, anyhow.
You know what? I'll just go to video or to.
Oh, there you are. You're on. You're
Am
good.
I on? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we've got Tomas Hertl opening up the scoring tonight. His game's definitely on the trend up ever since being put with Pavelski and Jumbo. Do you guys think that they keep him up there, or do you guys think that they should continue to try and develop him as the center that he's supposed to be?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Keep him
exactly. Yeah, don't. You have an embarrassment of riches at center right now. Just leave him up there if it's working. He's proven that he's more confident as a winger playing on that top line than trying to center guys and maybe take on a little too much on the lower lines.
Well, coupled with that, you've got the lower six really starting to chip in now. Jonas Donskoy with another goal tonight on the power play. Ward having the assist. You had Joel Ward's getting off the schneid, a 4-game pointless streak, and he's off the schneid. And this bottom six is starting to gel now, and I think it's no surprise with Couture on there and really kind of solidifying that third line center spot. You've got a bottom six that's pretty decent, and Tierney playing really well. It's really scary when you go face the Sharks because you've got Jumbo, Patty, Couture, and Tierney all down the middle. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And of course the drum that I love to beat on the special teams was essentially a wash tonight. 1 for 3 on the power play, 1 for 3 on the PK. So, or I should say 2 for 3 on the PK. So gave up 1, scored 1. That's a wash. Got it done in 5-on-5. It was a good. It worked out. It was a bit of a shitter to get off the pot game, but you know what? They took the win, and hopefully Hurdle is okay and doesn't have to deal with any more shots from Burns.
Yeah, well, I mean, he looked okay. He didn't seem. I mean, he stayed on the bench, didn't go back to the quiet room or anything. So, let's knock on wood that nothing pops up overnight. But I think he's pretty good, and I actually like the resiliency that he's showing this year, because it doesn't seem like he's just flailing around after he gets hit. We saw that he would drop his gloves and his stick and just leave a yard sale and just skate off if he had any kind of injury. Now it seems like he's working through it a little bit more, and I think that he's kind of growing up a little bit, growing up before our eyes.
Hey, go ahead.
He's turning into a good Canadian boy, huh?
Yeah, something like that.
Hey, Puck guy, I want to know, has there been any kind of hey, that looks like Lisa. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
Yeah. Was there any type of a significant change to the in-game experience today after the whole 365 thing and all with the season ticket?
They mentioned ladies' night out a little bit more for the Colorado game. They mentioned about the 365, where if you were the first 10 to do the 365, you were able to get a meet and greet with Nabby. But other than that, no.
Oh, okay.
No. I think they had a little more organ music, which, as a longtime Shark fan, I will say, bring more of it back. But that was pretty much it.
All right.
The stereo system still sucks.
That's a good promotion, though. So, hey, instead of just shitting on our fans for 9 months, we're going to do it all year round, baby.
Yep. Yeah,
Wow.
it was. Ginger, you wouldn't notice anything from the in-game experience tonight. Nothing really.
Nothing really. I mean,
Changed.
here's the thing: is that I could actually hear the goal song better walking around like the outside area
Yes, that's true.
than I could when I'm actually in there. And it's not because of just that it's that loud in the tank. It's mostly just because their stereo system sucks, but the system outside is better.
No bueno. Back to you, Landy.
Well, with the home experience, we should talk about the home record. The Sharks are now 9-12-1. They have matched Vancouver's win total on home ice, so they're kind of getting out of the doldrums, little by little, and starting to get back to 500 hockey at home. So I don't know what has changed. I don't know if Pete DeBoer finally, I don't know what he did, but whatever he's doing, they need to continue, and they need to play the way that they're playing, basically playing road-style hockey at home, because it's getting it done.
Your thoughts,
Absolutely.
Jen?
I mean, you have to keep going at this pace. You can't let it up. I mean, don't change anything. I mean, I feel bad for Zubris and Smith, but you have to keep it up. Oh, here comes an airplane. Hang on.
I want to hear the airplane.
Deep plane.
And can we get Brody to tell us what kind of airplane it is?
Oh, by the engine whine, I think that's an A350.
Wait a minute. Hold on. How did Eric not take a picture or give us a shot of that ridiculous art project underneath 87?
Let's put it this way. The art project under 87 is a lot better than the poster they were going to give out on Tuesday night. Holy crap, that looks horrible.
Oh, the Pavelski poster?
Oh my goodness. It doesn't even look. It looks like Pavelski had plastic surgery to look like Daryl Sutter.
And I just want to remind everybody again, the Sharks won today.
Yeah, the Sharks won today, and as far as I know, nobody is forcing anybody to take that poster, so I think we'll all be okay.
Yeah, we'll be good.
So, if the Sharks beat LA tomorrow in regulation, the Sharks will climb to within 6 points.
Well, it
And
has to do with what Arizona does against LA tonight too.
right, yes, if LA loses tonight, then the Sharks can climb within 6 points. But we've started to close that gap that we thought was kind of insurmountable. And here come the Sharks, and I didn't think that we would be seeing this. I thought that we would kind of be middling around again at home, but I don't know if it's the overall system starting to finally click with these guys. We're starting to see the defense jump in on a lot of scoring chances, good and bad. And we're also starting to see that bottom six starting to develop a little bit. So I am hesitant to say that we're turning a corner. I think that there's still a lot of the season left and a lot of time for them to screw it up, but I'm liking what I see.
I like what I see. I just I go back to depth, and if an injury happens, if Couture sees another injury, if one of the top four defensemen get injured, then I'm like, oh fuck, now what? So, go ahead, Gen X.
I was going to say we go right back to the House of Cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there was a rumor floating around today from USA Today. I happened to get a tweet from a Montreal Canadiens fan, and he was saying that it looks as if Patrick Marleau for Nathan Beaulieu was going to be was in the works, and that basically they were going to come down to Marc Bergevin being able to part with Nathan Beaulieu and Patrick Marleau waiving his no move clause. So what would you guys think about an ad like that to the defense?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
That's spectacular analysis. Can we get a little more from you, Gen X? Nope.
The problem with Beaulieu is he's exactly the same archetype that the Sharks are wrought with all the way down. These middling two-way defensive players who aren't really good offensively, who aren't really great defensively, yet Doug Wilson has some predilection to constantly going after that type of player.
I love that word. So rare I get the opportunity to use it.
Player?
Predilection. Anyway.
The Sharks don't have the big offensive guy who's solid defensively. They've got the big offensive guy. What they do not have is that banger. They do not have that set of just big body, good moving skaters in the back line. There is archetypes to winning, and the Sharks just do not have them.
Yeah, I agree. I think Nathan Beaulieu, while his ceiling might be high, he's just not there yet. And in 46 games with the Canadiens, he's got 13 points as a -1. So he's definitely not going to be a world beater from the offensive perspective, and his defense is suspect. I mean, we all know the plus-minus is bad, but, I guess, it's on the Canadiens who have slided a little bit. So the fact that he's almost even is reassuring. But, I'd rather them go after a pure offensive guy like a Jeff Petrie or I don't want Markov, but someone of that ilk. If they're going to go for something in the top four, I think that's what we're missing.
I'm sorry. I would say the only guy off the Habs that the Sharks should have traded for is the one that got traded to Phoenix for the All-Star.
Oh,
the Habs have the exact same problem as the Sharks do. They don't have that. They don't have that depth and archetypes. And Tenorti was not a big banger, but Tenorti knew what he was offensively. Tenorti knew what he was defensively.
Yeah, and Tenorti was something like 6'5" or 6'6", right? He's crazy tall.
He's 6'7". I mean, he doesn't play a big physical game. They expected him to be a Chara, a Zdeno, a late model Zdeno Chara with that big physical presence, and he's not there. He is actually an unbelievably nimble, puck-moving defenseman for his size. And Montreal tried to force him into being a big body banger.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it just wasn't him.
Yeah, and I think the Sharks have lacked that kind of a presence since either Blake or Suter, right? I mean, we just don't really have that kind of a player on the back end. You wish Dylan would evolve into that guy, but that's still kind of a ways away from him.
Sorry, dude. Dylan to me is a pet project that he came to the wrong system. Watched him in Dallas. He has that big physical ability. He's got very good feet, but he did not fit into what Wilson wanted him to be under McClellan, and does not fit in with what DeBoer is wanting him to be.
Yes, our former defenseman, now GM, got it wrong on another defenseman. What a shock.
Look at me being shocked.
Yes. But I still want to point out, though, it's good. No matter what happens, well, I shouldn't say that. If the Sharks go on a good run, we just talked about it. The Sharks have, 4 more against Arizona. You got 5 against Vancouver. Those are, those could be some key games. I don't have LA's schedule in front of me, but the Sharks, if Arizona pulls one out against LA tonight, and if the Sharks can pull out against LA tomorrow, then that's, they're within striking distance of LA. They could potentially try to get the Pacific Division. And how weird is it going to be that if that happens, we're all going to be pointing to the very first game of the season against Winnipeg being the kind of turning point of the whole thing?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Although you look at the way that the wild card is stacking up right now, you're going to take a tougher of 2 Central Division teams if you win the Pacific. So winning the Pacific might not be advantageous to the Sharks because
that's a great point.
Because if you look at it right this second, you've got Colorado in the second position, who would play the winner of the Central Division, which looks like Chicago right now. And you've got Minnesota holding on to that first wild card. So the lesser of the 2 wild cards goes against Chicago because they would have the higher point total. And Minnesota would play either the Sharks or Los Angeles. And Minnesota plays a pretty tough game. So if you have Minnesota and Los Angeles just banging it out for, hopefully a 5+ game series, and you have San Jose either drawing Vancouver or Arizona, maybe Anaheim if they can sneak in there, I like our chances getting out of the first round better than playing a Central Division wildcard team. Now that's if the Sharks even make it and keep it together, because we know February is coming up, and we know how bad Februaries are around San Jose. So,
Well, we have a live question. It's from Lisa. She has a question about who should start the rest of the games before the All-Star break.
This sucks.
Come on.
You were talking in net, right?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I said it.
Essentially, do you ride Jones, or does Stalock sneak in one of the games?
I said it after the Arizona game on Thursday. That I would play Jones today, as they did. I would go with Jones tomorrow, and then give Stalock the go on against Colorado.
Play Jones because he's had a 24 hours, or play Jones because he's better?
Tomorrow, play Jones because he's better, and he's got a hard-on to beat LA.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
And you can't have the wonderful adventures of Alex Stalock in net, We don't need any more adventures. Stay in your net. Come on.
Don't pull an Irby. Sorry to interrupt. Back to you, Landy.
So, it's not advantageous for the Sharks to win that first division spot. I don't know, guys. It's a tricky situation.
We'll go with Lisa. Both you and Gen X answer Lisa's questions. What would you guys do for in goal between, if you were making the call, who do you start tomorrow versus LA? Who do you start against Colorado?
Back to you, Landy.
You fooled me right there. To me,
that's copywritten.
To me, you've got to look at the history between Jones and LA. You've got to figure that there is some extra motivation for Jones to beat LA, and they need to ride their number one goalie. However, there are a lot of statistics out there floating around about a starter playing back-to-backs. So you kind of think about that, but in the end, this back-to-back's a little different because you had a matinee and then you go to a 7 o'clock start. So it gets you a little bit of extra recoup time. So I think that tomorrow Jones is probably a better option, even given the back-to-back. And I think that you do play Stalock on against that Colorado team. You figure that's probably going to be a letdown game anyways. You don't want to call that kind of a thing from the Sharks, but this is a Sharks team that does look to breaks earlier than when their schedule stops. So it wouldn't surprise me if they go to Stalock on Tuesday and play Jones tomorrow. It wouldn't surprise me.
Eric, you brilliant slut.
Yes.
Not you, dude.
Oh.
No.
You too.
Yeah. I just. The thing that also makes me nervous in this whole thing is since LA is going tonight and then will play us tomorrow, I get this weird feeling that they're going to go with Quick tonight in Arizona and then start their backup, which of course we know is the Sharks' kryptonite.
And Jonas Enroth does play the Sharks really well. For whatever reason, even being in Buffalo, he played us well. And, I don't know what that is. I don't know why the Sharks, are that way. But if they play the same kind of style tonight and they go 60 minutes instead of kind of letting up in the end of the first period tonight, they have a good shot of winning that game because they had a lot of bounce plays. They had a lot of layers in front of the net that really hampered the goalie tonight. Because if you look at Darcy Kemper, he kind of had the Sharks number too. So, if they play the same way in front of the net tonight or tomorrow as they did today, they have a good shot of doing well against LA. But we'll see who's going to start tonight. Is Enroth going to start tonight, or is Quick going to start tonight? And either one is going to have its drawbacks because we know Quick plays well at SAP, and we know that the Sharks have a hard time against backups. So pick your poison.
Any other thoughts about today's game before we moved on? Bueller?
At this point, I think the Sharks pulled that one out of their butts by the captain. And the big line really came through tonight. What I really need to see, though, is I need to see Patty's line chipping in a little bit more. I think we're starting to see Patrick kind of slump again, and it's a good thing that everybody else is chipping in because, he's a big part of the team, and when he's not going, the Sharks kind of pull back a little bit. So I think I need to see a little bit more out of him. He was using the body a little bit tonight, which is a good thing to see, but offensively, he needs to chip in some more.
Well, it's almost like the microcosm of Marlowe's career. Just streaky guy. He has always been streaky. When he gets hot, he's hot. When he gets cold, he is ice cold. All right, so move on to LA tomorrow. Obviously, huge game. Points in the standings are going to be massive on this one since they're obviously the ones that the Sharks are chasing. Come on. Can we just see one time, please? Just once. I really don't give a flying fuck who it is. I don't care if it's Dylan. I'm trying to think of a couple. Whether it's hell, Mike Brown. Let Mike Brown. I want to see some brown-on-brown violence tomorrow night. I want to see Mike Brown take Dustin and just pummel the crap out of him, just for one game.
If it's brown, flush it down.
Thank you. Exactly.
I think that this Sharks team sticks up for itself a little bit more than in recent history. I think that this team kind of has taken to heart the fact that people have taken liberties against them. So I like the fact that you have Wingles with Couture. You have Ward with Marlowe and Nieto. And you've got Jumbo and Pavs, who both have been not afraid to mix it up, defending Hurdle. So I like that those three.
Well, and Hurdle's not necessarily a scared guy. We've seen him get a little nasty from time to time.
Right. And so I think that this team is really starting to gain its identity and really starting to play for one another. Exactly. And they're not dumb. They don't take dumb penalties, but they do stick up for themselves. And I like that Vlasic is getting nasty. I like that Burns is getting nasty. And, we know Dylan, and we know that he can get nasty too. So this team, I think I'm not as worried about somebody not, first off, I'm not worried about them taking dumb penalties, but I'm also not worried about, little bullshit plays by the Kings going unnoticed, because I don't think that that's this Sharks team MO. And I think, okay, Gen X, go ahead.
No, I'm biting my tongue. Oh, hey, look, beer.
Do not bite your tongue. Say it.
Yeah, I mean that's why we're here.
Why you're on here, bro?
Yeah, exactly. Say what you gotta say.
What I'm gonna say is the Sharks do it against teams they know they can get away with it, and teams that frighten them, they back off.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Although it was weird. Did you hear when he said that? All of a sudden he started to slur a little bit. Like all of a sudden, like the alcohol took over for about 5 seconds. That was awesome. But no, I totally agree.
Listen here, AJ, you slut.
That's a good point, because we do see them kind of give a little bit of ground to LA. Even the last game when they played well, they let LA kind of was on them physically, and the Sharks kind of just took it and didn't. I mean, physically they weren't as physically active as we've seen them against other teams. So I tend to agree with that.
They just don't have the makeup to stand toe to toe with those guys that play that way. They just don't. That goes back to that. They've got a bunch of middling defensemen outside of Burns, who doesn't use his physicality, and Dylan, who doesn't know what he is right now. The rest of them are these two-way defensemen that don't have the size, that are okay skaters, don't have the offensive skill to really do much of anything. They're good for certain things. What they're looking for them to do is what they need to do is not what they're doing.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, then, should the Sharks have given up so quickly on Taylor Doherty? Because he was going to be that kind of a player.
That's a coin toss. We get, and I hate to say it because there's a reason I put the tinfoil hat on Eric as my profile picture. It goes back to the Roy Sommer thing. How much was he burnt by playing in that Shark system? How much of his game did he get turned around in his own head? These kids come out of junior, and they're generally coached to play to what they need to be comfortable playing to, or what style of player. They don't try to change them in junior. Where they try to change them is when they get into the AHL, because the scouts or the GM or whomever is running hockey ops for the NHL team says, I need you to be something else, or I think you've got the potential to be something else. And they put these guys in there and try and turn them into something else. And the next thing you know, they don't know what they are anymore.
Yeah, I think the perfect example of that is Jamie McGinn. He came out as a scoring kind of forward. He was going to be a good two-way forward, but kind of in the ilk of maybe a Logan. Mike Ricci.
A little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Had some scoring prowess, but was also good in his own zone. But when Ben Eager was on the team, he kind of followed his lead and really screwed up his development path. And now look at him. He's not, he's a shadow of what he was. He doesn't know what to be in the NHL. And if you don't have a defined role here, it's pretty hard to stick. So I totally agree with that. I think that this Sharks team and this especially the management doesn't know how to develop players to their full potential. I think that they have an idea of what they want these players to be, and they try to mold them to that idea, but I don't think that they actually have a good feel for their prospects, how they play, and maximizing that potential. Because you're looking at it right now with Goldie, Nikolai Goldobin. He is a gifted creative player. Kind of Datsukian in his creativity. He's not on Datsuk's level, but he has that kind of thinking. But you play in Roy Sommer's system, if you're not good in your own end, forget it. You're going to get benched, and you're not going to get the time to develop.
Say Andrew Bench.
And with that, we were talking about Marlowe there for a minute. I don't know if you guys saw it. Of all places, not a national publication, not USA Today, not the Hockey News, just a local radio station coming out with an article today from an interview with Jeremy Roenick about the Sharks. Now, as we all know, Roenick is never at a loss for words when it comes to the Sharks. I'm still more shocked than anything that this was coming from a local radio station here when we know how much the Sharks are pretty much ignored universally. But Roenick, once again, taking every opportunity to call out Marlowe, and the quote being is, "It becomes how the guys feel about him in the locker room. Is he a guy that they can get rid of and bring in some really quality players for him at this point?" And Roenick saying he's 34 years old, and he's actually 36, but he's 34 years old. It gets to a point where Marlowe can be untradeable. He's still very, very good and very effective, but I don't see him being one of the locker room favorites. So if they can get rid of him, I don't think it's going to make a huge impact with the team. But what can they get back in return could be huge. As good of a player as he is, Joe Thornton is the most popular player in the locker room by far. I think Pavelski and Couture are right behind him. When you've got a guy who has been in the locker room his whole career and is not thought of like that, that raises questions. So, Roenick, it really, really makes you wish that you could have been a fly on the wall during Roenick's time in Teal to see just what the hell happened between him and Marlowe. Like, I really wish I would have been able to make it out to some practices at that time.
There's some... Roenick and I have varying... Anyway.
Oh, look, beer!
Hey, look, beer. Oh, good, cough button.
You know what? It's kind of strange that Roenick likes to call out Patty so much, almost to the point where it's like, do you like this guy for some reason? I mean, why do you call him out all the time? It's your personal whipping boy. I don't get it.
He's never said that he likes him as a person. He's always been complimentary of him as a player on the ice, but whenever it gets to a case of in the locker room type of thing or on the bench, that he's just not well liked or not a favorite, or there's something about, we all remember gutless, doesn't have any heart.
Geez, for not liking him, he sure as hell talks about him a lot, because it's crazy. And
well, he was actually, in Roenick's defense in this, he was asking a question, or he was answering a question posed to him about Marlowe, talking about that the trade rumors have come up. So it's not like Roenick is running around looking to anybody he can talk to talk shit about Marlowe. But when someone, I think you also have to know that if you're getting an interview with Roenick, you're going to get a good quote if you bring up the name Patrick Marlowe.
Well, and you're going to get to the Patrick Marlowe because you're going to go back to and remember that one of the 15 bajillion teams that Jeremy Roenick played for in his career was San Jose. And, hey, Jeremy, that's a good whipping boy for you. We know it's like shock jockism. When there's going to be a good hit.
Yeah.
And I'm so of two minds of this because 90% of what Jeremy Roenick says he makes up on the spot, but he's been pretty consistent on this subject, and I got to go with sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah. No, I think there's something going on. The other kind of cool quote, and this article from local sports station KMBR, he also said he thinks that the quote is, I think Joe Pavelski is the ultimate true leader. He does everything you want a leader to do on the ice. He does everything you want in a leader off the ice. He does it without wanting accolades or having the press boat around him. He loves the game and is a student of it. I think Pavelski is the most underrated player in the National Hockey League, bar none. Okay, huh?
Sorry, which is code for I want him to show up at my next golf tournament.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but I mean, those are some nice accolades, especially when you consider how much the Western hockey on the West Coast gets ignored. But now here's the part that I think we know a certain blogger would probably like just jump out a fucking window for, is when Roenick says, "I will also say that Brent Burns is in the top 3 best defensemen in the league."
Lay off the weed, Mr. Roenick. Lay off the weed.
Says the way he plays the game, the way he controls the game, the way he can play offense and defense, there are not 3 better defensemen in the game than Brent Burns. And with that quote, Andrew Bench just offed himself.
Oh my God! I mean, hey, did he watch the Ottawa Senators game?
Has he watched hockey in 2 years?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Golf. You can play golf all year round in Arizona, my friend.
Oh, he's out to lunch, boy. He's so out to lunch.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder maybe he played through too many concussions as a player, because boy, that guy's marbles are scrambled.
But you know what? He played the game, and that's the most important aspect of this.
Yeah.
And he tried to tackle an alligator. So.
Right, crikey, that was Jeremy Roenick out there, Crocodile Roenick.
Oh dear God. Is there anything else we need to touch on? I really don't think there is. I mean, we got LA tomorrow. We got Colorado. We both know what the deal is. We'll be looking, obviously, the kind of the key compelling things that we'll be looking at. Who goes in net for both games? Not only for I should say for all 3 games, and I'm including tonight, LA and Arizona. See who goes in net for LA tonight. What happens in nets for between LA and San Jose tomorrow night, and then of course if we do see a change, whether Stalock sees a game out of the next 2, and then going into the All-Star break, are there anything, or is there anything that you guys are looking forward to with regards to the All-Star game? Whether it's the 3-on-3 tournament thing, I would imagine that we're all hoping that John Scott gets the Gordie Howe hat trick, but other than that, is there anything that you find compelling, or do you think the 3-on-3 tournament thing is just a gimmick because they just can't think of any other way to get people to tune into this tire fire?
Okay, wanted. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Landy. I was going to
God,
say,
it's not here.
it'll be interesting to see what 3-on-3 looks like for 20 minutes. And for that
I've
matter,
seen that, but it was these 2 girls at Cheers. No, I'm sorry. Never mind.
He'll be at Cheers all weekend,
Yeah.
folks. Don't forget to tip your waitresses and enjoy the teal.
Yeah.
Back to you, Landy.
Please tip your waitresses because the jokes are bad.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, the drunker you are, the funnier I am.
I really want to see John Scott play defense and have Taylor Hall and I don't know who's another fast guy from the Pacific.
I don't know, Taze?
God, anybody with 2 feet.
Well, I just want to see him water ski. Have his 2 little forwards
wheels.
Be his 2 little engines, and he can just ride in the back, ride behind them, and just watch the water skiing that is 3-on-3, because it's going to be hilarious if he plays. I want him to play too, because quite frankly, you voted the guy in. Let him enjoy the entire experience.
The fun thing is I hope he knows exactly where Bettman is sitting for this game, because when and if John Scott scores in this game,
Oh, they're going to be looking for him. They're going to be looking for him the entire game just to get him a point just to get. Because if he can get a Gordial hat trick at the All-Star game, that would be worth it. That would just be worth watching it. I don't care who wins because the All-Star game is absolutely freaking useless. But it's the only reason why they're trying to do this, and the only reason I feel like the only reason why they did this entire controversy was to stir up interest in the All-Star game. You know, and because look, they've got people interested in it now. They're like, oh, well, we're not going to start John Scott. Oh, now we're putting him in. Let's see what's going to happen. It creates a storyline. It's almost like they're trying to build up something for WrestleMania.
It is like a WrestleMania build-up.
Oh my God, that's John Scott's music.
Wow, that was a great preview. That was a great preview from the new show we'll be debuting during the summer called Driving Miss Puck Guy. So one guy, we do have a good point on the chat board saying, well, I don't know how exciting 3-on-3 can be when they're going at 35% speed and intensity, which is, that is a good point. We all know this is a meaningless exhibition game where the number one priority is to not get hurt. So
yeah, it's a glorified game of shimmy.
No, the number one priority is to get drunk.
And
then
I'm already on it, my brother. Already on it.
And then not get hurt after you get drunk.
Yeah. Well, honestly, at this point, I think rather than this 3-on-3 tournament, I think you would actually have people tuning in if a lot more if it was just a case of these guys all got together at a location, whether it was Nashville this year or San Jose next year. I think it would be more compelling to put these guys together and let them go curling instead of playing hockey.
I'm actually a fan of the concept of the celebrity thing. Do like a celebrity all-star game.
Oh, absolutely.
Where you bring in some people who,
like a Matthew Perry.
Since the NHL loves their EFGHI list celebrities, you can bring in those people who are big hockey fans, who can skate, who can play.
Toronto's representative will be Drake, of course.
Well,
not Bieber?
No, it'll be Bieber. It'll be both.
Yeah. No, he's LA's representative. Come on, guys.
No. Right now he's Chicago's representative.
I was going to say he's Chicago's representative.
Yeah, and then we'll come to find out in June who he represents then. No, I like that idea.
Young is our representative.
No.
And with that, anyway,
back to you, Landy.
Yeah, back to you, Landy. No, I go with I like that idea of like a all-star thing, and take it a step further. Since we know that there is going to be like essentially no hitting, anything like that. You know what? Let's see an old timers game. How funny would it be to see Waugh versus Brodeur right now? When you've got, some guys that are recently retired. You got Chelios on the back end with Roenick and,
Doug Wilson.
and Joe Sakic up front. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can they get a tanning bed on the ice for Doug Wilson to skate? Like some sort of hyperbaric chamber?
Oh, I like that. But no, how cool would that be to just have, like Gretzky skating with Sakic and like Chris Chelios on the back, Nick Lidstrom on the back end. There's your 3-on-3 and just with Brodeur and net, and that's one squad for the old timer. I think that would be more fun and compelling to watch versus seeing guys now. Or you just have and this is how you end all ties. There is no overtime. There is no shootout. I mean, and obviously if you go to overtime, you can't go to like what 1-on-1, 2-on-2. Instead, you have a microphone come out at center ice. Whoever does the best Don Cherry impression wins. That's how you determine the winner. Whoever has PK Subban.
I was going to say.
Whoever drafts him first, that's money.
Yeah. You bring up a good point, though, with Nick Lidstrom. How cool would it have been to have 3-on-3 implemented, a few years ago, to see Nicky on the ice just effortlessly skate? I mean, I would have paid real good money to see that.
Or even Paul Coffey or Bobby Orr. I mean, see 3-on-3 with those guys because they had great speed on their skates.
Or hell, even Al McGinnis. Can you imagine you'd have with all that room to fire the shot, you'd have a goalie's just going, you know what, just go, just have at it.
Yeah. So I wish that they would have gone to this format a little earlier. Although, we wonder how long it's going to be till coaches really screw this up and really implement the defensive systems. With that being said, the Sharks have been pretty good in the 3-on-3, and I've been impressed with the way that they hold the puck and they get their guys changed out and keep possession of the puck. I think that they're doing a really good job with that.
They've done a good job with 3-on-3, with the exception of, what game was it? Was it Dallas?
The first time.
Or was it Edmonton? It was one of those two. Oh no, it was Dallas. Yeah, they just looked like fucking garbage. Although, you know what? Now, no, the more I think about it, no, it was the Edmonton game. I was at the Edmonton game, and yeah, Donskoy had that fantastic goal in the shootout, but for the overtime, they just looked like they were standing still. I didn't understand it at all. And they were doing the same thing in Dallas.
Yeah.
Or with Dallas, I should say. But anyway.
Let's go ahead and clean up our tweets here. I've got a tweet from Wug Dilson. I think we all know that that's a Doug Wilson parody account, but he's also a good listener. What? He says, thoughts on Sharks looking at Yandel. He's supposedly available. And then we've got...
everybody's available at the right price, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But we also got Kurz stirring the pot. Somebody brought that up in the chat that the New York Rangers scouts are here. So... I mean,
scouts are everywhere. That doesn't mean a lot.
I think.
Excuse me while I do my Krusty the Clown.
Yeah, I think.
Like AJ said, scouts are frickin' everywhere.
Yeah, I agree. Because he had Sharks scouts looking at Jonathan Drouin, and we don't know where that's going either. Would it be nice to get Keith Yandel? Yeah, but what it's going to take to get that kind of a player?
No, it wouldn't. You already have a Keith Yandel who can't play defense. Wait, which means you already have a Keith Yandel.
Well, there you go. Gen X with the defensive talk here on Keith Yandel. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of a train wreck in his own zone. Very good offensively. But
I think he's hammered on too hard for his ability in his own zone. I don't think he's nearly as bad as Brian Burke would make you think. But is he as solid defensively? No. You had Dan Boyle, who was horrible defensively in his own zone, but who made up for it offensively. That's Keith Yandel. You know who you have now? Brent Burns. Mm-hmm. Do you need another Brent Burns?
There's some people that don't want the one that we have, at least not on defense.
Every time I see Charlie Coyle, I sort of bang my head against the table. That's another story for another day.
Well, I mean, I think if you play it all out, what now? I have... I drink a lot, so I don't remember the whole deal, but it was Setaguchi, Coyle, a first-round pick who turned into, what was it, Ryan Phillips or something? I forget the guy's name. I don't even know if he's on the Wild's roster right now. But we essentially traded 3 first-rounders, Coyle, Setaguchi, and whoever that guy was, for Burns and what? Was it a second-rounder?
Third, right?
Third, I think it was third.
Was it? Do we? Anybody remember what that third ended up being?
Traded away for Mike Brown. Who knows?
Yeah. See, that's the whole thing. Is I'd like to know how that part played out, but if it boils down to it, it's essentially Burns for Coyle, and I think most people would say, well, you would take Burns instead of Coyle, at least at this point, for what the Sharks need, because the defense is so just depth lacking. You need anything, but it's
okay. I know.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, I think I don't want to turn this into prospects central, but I really don't understand the lack of depth on the defensive end and the lack of picks going towards defensemen and the defensive picks that they've made. I just.
Let's not start beating this horse again.
No, we won't. We won't. But it's very Edmonton-esque, isn't it? I mean, they're picking a lot of high-end forwards, but what's on the back end? The cupboard's kind of bare there. So, well,
and I would argue that they're not even picking well in their high-end forward department.
Well, That's for another time.
It seems like they've been hitting mid or late rounds, if anything.
Oh God, he's back.
Um,
Back, bitches.
okay, AJ. I guess it's time for the one and only Slushy Jake question.
Now, hang on. I thought we agreed we were going to vote on the Slushy Jake question and then demote that question to the AHL.
Oh man, that's a great idea.
I guess that's a teal tinted glasses Barracuda section part.
Yeah. Okay, so your Slushy Jake question for this cast is: what was the best Sharks playoff series they played but lost?
That's an interesting question.
I'm gonna go Calgary in 2004.
I'm actually going to agree with you. That was probably the most fun end-to-end series I'd seen in a while.
Mm-hmm. Puck guy?
I agree with Gentry here. I would say the 2013 conference semis against LA. I thought they played pretty well, even though the NHL did the screw job on them with the Torres. But I thought they played really solid throughout that series, and
that was more even than the last series.
That was the one where everybody won at home, right?
Yeah, everybody won at home.
I don't want to remember that. I seem to have a blackout in that section of time, so I don't want to talk about that. Let's not talk about it, okay, guys? I seem to remember a Detroit series, or maybe actually even that Toronto series that they had when they beat Detroit. What was it, 93, 94? That I thought that they could have won that Toronto series. So, I thought. I think that's probably where I go, because that team had a lot of momentum beating Detroit, and they just ran into a fairly good Toronto squad.
All right, Jake. Maybe come up with some trivia next time. These questions, I'm getting tired of hearing about what was the best loser that year? Like, dude, be a little more positive, a little more uplifting on a roll, boy. Okay.
Yeah, and maybe some more current event questions, because I kind of have a hard time going back 20 years, since I'm only 25.
I can't remember 20 minutes ago.
Well, there you go.
Who are you people, and why am I talking to you?
And with that, I can't think of anything else that we really need to touch on. I mean, we kind of the only thing that was new on the fire at all was or the Roenick comments. And like I said, the Roenick comments were not surprising at all. The fact that they came from a KNBR interview was what was very surprising. And just coming up on the Twitter machine from Gackle, Rafi Torres will not be suiting up for the Barracuda today. There's your final thing to talk about. Has Torres played his last game in the NHL?
Yes.
Yep. I feel the same way.
I agree. I think the guy's zombie knee is just not going to let him play, and I think he's done. And quite frankly, it's karma.
It is karma. I would like to know who his surgeon is, so I don't use him though.
Yeah, dude, that's a completely different story. It's got absolutely nothing to do with that. They can only fix what they can fix, and it's not. I'll go back to what Chris JW continues to say. Having gone through it himself.
Yep.
There's only so much you can repair structurally to what's happened to him. So
yeah, and thank God Hurdle, didn't get his MCL tore up. It was just the PCL, because God, if that MCL would have gone kaput, he's young, but he would not have been the same player. And look how long it's taken him to recoup that injury that he got. So, kind of count the blessings there.
Yeah. Well, I go with whatever. We've already got Ben Smith down. We can get Torres off the books. Just, deadline 5 weeks away. If they're going to call it on, just put the toe tag on Torres already. Call it a day, and just see what you can do to help this team in some fashion to try to make something happen this season. And you would think that Wilson has to have some pressure on him because we've now seen that Hasso is concerned about the ticket sales. Which I just go, Hasso is concerned about his tax write-off. So, so I don't know if Wilson's feeling any pressure. I mean, I'm assuming if he would take a walk around the tank during a game, he might feel a little bit of pressure until he runs up to his suite. But I wonder if we'll see any level of a trade that is Wilson-esque, where he trades away top picks again. You know, there was this whole thing about last year was supposed to be this, and we saw what you know, wasn't it all supposed to have started with Douglas Murray and Ryan Clough and getting the picks? Like that deal was supposed to kind of like start this process of this slow rebuild and bringing up, getting, you know, putting some picks back in the cupboard, bringing up some young guys, getting them experience. If Wilson tosses away another pick like he did with Ty McGinn or something, I just go, well, I think Wilson's kind of full of shit, and he's proving it more and more.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the cupboard is not as barren as it's been, but boy, it is certainly lacking in defensive prospects. Yeah. Offensive prospects, I think that they're in a good space, but defensive prospects, besides Waugh, and Mueller, who are both at this point years from being, you know, stalwarts on D. You know, I don't see how you can trade any more future assets and expect to have this team be long-term competitive. I just don't, especially on the back end.
And here's the funny thing: is look at Jeremy Waugh and look at Mirko Mueller. I watched Mirko a lot up here in Everett, and look at Jeremy Waugh. What kind of players are they? Sort of two-way defensive players, two-way defensemen with a little bit of offense and a little bit of defense that are going to be pushed one way or the other and not know what their game is.
I think that you probably have a good kind of mold for Mueller in Braun. I think he's kind of that player. I don't think he's as good defensively as Vlasic, and I don't think that he is going to be as prolific on the offense as, say, like a Danny Boyle or anything like that. But I think that he could his ceiling is probably a Braun, and maybe be better at that kind of a player than Braun is. And I think that Waugh's ceiling is a Dan Boyle-esque kind of player. I don't see him being very good in his own end. I think that kid's got some issues he's got to sort out on the back end with his play. But yeah, we don't really have that prototypical number one kind of big defensive stud who can play 30 minutes a night like a Suter or a
Doughty.
Yeah, we don't have that guy in the system.
Doughty can be a bit interesting in his own zone, but oh my effing God, when he decides to take a game, he takes over a game. He's like PK. If PK decides to take over a game, he takes over a game.
And Shockwave 984, you're exactly correct. It was Zach Phillips who was selected with that first round pick.
What did I say? Like Ryan Phillips or something? I was close.
Yeah, you said something Phillips.
Yeah, I was
Wilson
close.
Phillips.
Yeah, Wilson Phillips, Ryan Felipe's. I knew it was something like that.
All right. Well, we don't have Mr. Puck Guy to take us home. I guess AOL finally kicked him off of his connection. Excuse me, sorry, AT&T.
He hit the Sonoma grade and everything shuts down.
Well, I was going to say he probably hit his bandwidth cap for the month, right?
Exactly. Yeah, he hit his AT&T cap. So, anyhow, the Sharks win a epic thriller 4-3 against the Minnesota Wild. They will play the Los Angeles Kings tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the Tank. Then you've got the sprint to the All-Star break with one game left at home against Colorado, and then you've got the All-Star break, and then you get the stretch drive coming home into the playoffs. So let's just hope that this team can keep it together. Mr. Puck Guy, take us home.
Back to you, Puck Guy.
Take us home.
Thank you, Gen X. Thank you for filling in with us. Thank you, Landy, of course, for joining us. AJ, thank you. Hope you have a nice weekend. Sharks win 4-3 in dramatic fashion over the Minnesota Wild. They play tomorrow, another massively huge game, 7 p.m. So remember, it's 7 p.m., not 7:30 at the Shark Tank. Should be a great one as we try to beat LA. For the entire group here, along with my driver, Mr. Gentry Alexander.
Yes.
Home, Gentry, home.
Yes. Until
My
tomorrow,
driver is a one-wood.
keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Have a good one.